When my wife died, I became the sole caregiver to our 11-year-old child. I had been pretty much the sole caregiver for like the previous 3 years because my wife had been in and out of treatment, surgery, chemo, all kinds of stuff, and she was unable to really look after herself, let alone a child.
Hey everyone, welcome to this heartfelt story. We're starting with a father who lost his wife to a serious illness and was left to raise his young child alone. He'd already been doing most of the parenting for years, managing cooking, cleaning, everything, while his wife went through surgeries and chemo. The moment she passed, it all fell on him, full time. It's a powerful wake-up call about how quickly life can change and how men too must step up to unforeseen challenges.
Let's read this next comment. I feel your pain. Went through the same, losing my husband of cancer. Also have to take care of my kids, but get through it stronger than ever.
This commenter echoes a common reality. Dealing with the aftermath of a spouse's passing can make or break you. One day you're working your usual routine, the next you're the sole caretaker. But as she says, you can emerge stronger. It isn't easy, but there's immense growth in pushing through sorrow.
So when she died, I really didn't know what to do. I'm like, an 11-year-old isn't old enough, obviously, to stay at home alone. I'm a single parent at this point. Luckily, I had family in the area. My parents, my late wife's parents were really supportive, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing. But I didn't want my kid to be looked after by a different person every day, never knowing who's going to meet him after the bus and drop him off in the morning and those sorts of things, right? So at the time, luckily, I was on compassionate leave from work, and I had been off for probably about 4 months once my wife had gone into hospital and then moved to hospice. I had just gone off work and stayed off. I'm fortunate to live in Canada where we have that sort of benefit. And so what I did is I took some time. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that my compassionate leave allowed me to stay off even after her death for a little while. I also didn't want to stay off indefinitely and leave my coworkers in the lurch because they were picking up all the slack from me doing my work. And I didn't think that was fair to them to just have no end in sight. So what I ended up doing, I had a small life insurance policy that I had purchased through work that I wanted to make sure that it actually paid out before I gave my notice. But once it did, I handed in my 2 weeks and I quit my job. I knew that in that moment, the most important thing I could do was look after my child.
This father made a bold move. He quit his job, his main source of financial security. Most men would feel panic or guilt about leaving work for so long, but he recognized that no job was worth sacrificing precious bonding time with his grieving child. Sometimes prioritizing family means making radical decisions.
Let's see another user's comment. Well done, you have an amazing time with your child. Sorry for your loss. It's now time for yourself to find another lady, and for her and your child and yourself deserves happiness.
While it's heartwarming to see that encouragement, grief can complicate the idea of moving on. Many single fathers might fear that introducing a new partner too soon disrupts the emotional healing process. It's okay to take a step back and focus on your child first. Still, the comment's main point stands. Men deserve happiness and companionship too. There's no shame in eventually seeking new love. Just do it at your own pace.
Up to that time, I was off trying to figure out what to do. And so I planned a massive road trip for the two of us to take all out to the east coast of Canada, all the way up to the very northern tip of Newfoundland and back again. 5 weeks of driving from site to site, spending time together in the car, talking and building that bond together that I knew was going to be so important. And it worked. We became closer than ever. We were already very close, luckily. I think the fact that I had been pretty much the primary parent for a few years leading up to my wife's death really helped. We had a pretty good bond, but that was I think really necessary for my child to know that I was going to be there for them, right? We had a lot of conversations about me putting them first, right? They were going to be first over work, over whatever happened, my social life, anything.
This is a turning point. Instead of staying home lost in grief, he chose adventure. A 5-week road trip across Canada, nearly 10,000 kilometers with an 11-year-old. That's dedication. Sometimes taking that bold leap is exactly what cements a father-child relationship. Even though it was grueling, it showed his child, I've got you. You come first.
Check out this next comment. So sorry for your loss. This is beautiful. The way you put your daughter first, the message is good for everyone to hear. We can do what we never thought we could.
The best takeaway is the theme of we can do what we never thought we could. Whether it's cooking for the family, driving cross country, or quitting your job, this father's story proves we're often stronger than we assume. Men in particular can feel tied to their job identity. Letting go can be terrifying, but it can also be the exact move that changes everything for the better.
Having spent 5 weeks driving, I think I drove almost 9,500 kilometers, almost 10,000 kilometers. And them being 11, they weren't driving. It was all on me, right? So probably a little bit ambitious, but I think that trip, in hindsight, it was me proving to myself that I could do it. Not just be a single parent, but that I could take on any challenge and I could do it. And of course, I would have loved for my wife to be there. I would have loved for us to do that trip together and have that time together, but it just wasn't possible.
This final snippet shows his self-discovery. He didn't just cross physical miles. He traveled a personal journey from doubt to confidence. Men often wonder, am I really able to handle parenting alone? This father's answer is a resounding yes. He embraced the challenge head on.
Here's another perspective. Thank you for sharing it with your daughter. You both have memories to last a lifetime. Mom died when I was 8. My father spent my childhood trying to give me away and beat me and blame me.
This is heartbreaking. Some children lose a mother and find their remaining parent unwilling or unfit to step up. But in this father's story, we see the opposite. He poured himself into his child's well-being. It's a harsh reminder that men can choose two paths after tragedy: turn inward in bitterness or forge a deeper connection. He chose the latter.
Let's read one more from script number 1. This reminds me of when my dad died and my mom, aunt, and uncle took us on a long vacation. I was 8 and can remember how good it felt being away from the sadness. You're a great dad. Sorry for your loss.
That final comment highlights the power of travel or a change of scenery in the healing process. Sometimes physically distancing yourself from the place where all the pain happened helps you breathe again. Let's carry that insight forward as we transition into the second video script, which dives deeper into the emotional toll of grief.
You know, there's so much that we don't talk about on this journey. So many feelings and emotions. People don't realize that that fake smile we carry on us 24/7 is just that. It's fake.
Now we're shifting gears to the topic of emotional vulnerability and grief. The speaker calls out how common it is to hide behind a fake smile, especially men who've often been socialized to bottle up pain. Grief can be isolating, yet the world expects us to function normally. That's a tall order.
Let's look at a new comment. The hurt is always there. I never thought I would live to lose 2 husbands. I wake up to another day and make the best of it. Prayers for you.
This person's lost not 1 but 2 spouses. Her statement resonates with the reality that no matter how many times you've experienced loss, it never becomes easy. We can only keep pushing forward day by day. It's another reminder that healing's a long road, yet we choose to keep going.
It's insane that we hide our feelings to protect everyone else. Triggers, bad days, things like that. You have to power through them so nobody sees what you're going through. Probably because you don't want them to see how broken you really are.
Here's where it gets raw. Many men feel pressure to soldier on, to not let anyone see they're struggling, like it's shameful or weak to admit to heartbreak. But real strength isn't about masking pain. It's about acknowledging it and still facing the day. That's the lesson we need to learn.
Check this out. It's been 3.5 years for me, and every day's a struggle. That fake smile, telling everyone you're okay when deep down the pain is still real. Wish you the best.
So many widows and widowers, and anyone who's lost someone, walk around holding in all this pain. Her words reflect that universal feeling. The world moves on, but your heart doesn't. For men especially, letting others see your ongoing struggles can feel impossible. Yet sharing can ease the burden.
We hide our feelings to protect people around us. We isolate on our bad days to protect the people around us. But when do we protect ourselves? At what point do we start putting ourselves first? Our emotions, our feelings.
This snippet highlights a critical point. Self-care in grief often gets overlooked. We hustle to protect our kids, our relatives, even our friends from our sadness. Meanwhile, we're crumbling inside. If you're a grieving man, ask yourself, am I giving myself permission to heal? Because you can't help anyone if you're in tatters.
Let's read another. I feel you. I lost my husband in October. We were together almost 30 years. I'm 57 years old. I feel so alone, and I'm tired of faking how I'm feeling.
That raw loneliness hits hardest when you've spent decades with one person. Once they're gone, your day-to-day life feels hollow. This commenter's exhaustion with faking it is common. Men or women, we can only keep that charade for so long before it drains us.
This next comment says, you should always put yourself first. Grief is horrible to get through, and even harder when you don't allow yourself to work through it. Prayers for peace and strength to help get you through.
It might sound counterintuitive, but focusing on your own emotional well-being, counseling, journaling, or even a break from daily stress can make you a better parent, friend, and person. Grief is an internal storm. If you never tend to your own heart, that storm can consume you. So what can we learn from these two stories of profound loss and resilience? First, prioritize meaningful time with those you love. No job or routine is more important than connecting deeply with your kids when tragedy strikes. Second, acknowledge your own pain. Hiding your grief may protect others, but it neglects your mental health. Seek support through friends, family, therapy,